It's an irony that I chose this picture in particular when I'm getting ready to do this video on Ron DeSnowflake or Ron DeSatan. You know, my nicknames for him change up, and for good reason. And now I found another reason as to why that is. So what I'm about to read to you just came out on January 19th, which is the day I'm recording this video, where in the state of Florida, thanks to Ron DeSnowflake, they have now rejected an AP, which stands for Advanced Placement, African American Studies class. Now, if y'all remember, Ron DeSantis had put into place something called the Stop Woke Act. That couldn't have been more blatant of what that actually meant if they tried. We keep telling people how they bastardize the word woke and what it truly means. And this right here is what you're seeing go into play. But it wasn't enough for them to say, you know, we're going to stop it. But now we're going to get an explanation as to why that is. And trust me, it's a dumbass one. Florida will not allow a new advanced placement course on African American studies to be offered in its high schools, stating that the course is not, quote unquote, historically accurate and violates state law. In a letter last week, the Florida Department of Education informed the College Board, which administers AP exams, that it would not include the class in the state's course directory. Rigorous AP courses allow high school students to obtain credit in advanced placement in college. As presented, the content of this course is inexplicably contrary to Florida law and significantly lacks educational value. Listen to what they're saying there. They're basically saying learning about Black history lacks educational value and it's historically inaccurate. That's what they're saying. Good thing I learned a lot about our history outside of school. So thank God for that. I'm gonna need the Black parents down there in the state of Florida. If you can't homeschool your kids, you need to make sure you are teaching your kids to find a way that your kids can learn about their history the right way. But really, what I keep telling people, this is not a dig. It is a dig at our history, but it's not a dig at us. And what I mean by that is Ron DeSantis or DeSnowflake or DeSatan is really doing this to not have this be taught to the white students or any student that would be non-Black whose history is not considered Black American history. I've said that so many times, and I truly stand on that. I really do believe that's why he does this. As if learning about our history is somehow going to taint them. But like I said, that's that guilt kicking in. But remember, Ron DeSantis, that last name DeSantis, that's an Italian last name. Let me go and continue. Let me read this part again. As presented, the content of this course is inexplicably contrary to Florida law and significantly lacks educational value. The department's Office of Articulation, which oversees accelerated programs for high school students, wrote on January 12th. In the future, should the College Board be willing to come back to the table with lawful, historically accurate content, FDOE will always be willing to reopen the discussion. In other words, don't come back with it at all. Or take out the parts that make white people not look bad. That's so basically, in order to teach accurate Black history to high school students in Florida, you have to taint or move around the parts where white people are bad and not make Black history, as far as the oppression part of it, seem so much worse than what it actually is. Basically lie and fabricate. I'm telling you, they about to have a state full of idiots down there. Well, considering they have an idiot running the state, that's par for the course. The letter with no name attached to it did not cite which law the course violated or what the curriculum was objectionable. So it's very vague. It doesn't say what part of this curriculum violates this Stop Woke Act. It just says don't teach it. I mean, could they be any more obvious? They're telling you right to your face, don't teach that nigga history in these schools or we're going to cut something. Shoot, they might cut funding. They might fire someone. Take it a step further. They may fine you. They may put you in jail. I'm not even trying to be over exaggerated when I said it. Ron DeSantis might actually do that. I'm just saying. Anybody who follows me who lives in the state of Florida knows that this man is a renegade. The department did not respond to questions asking for more details, but last year, Governor Ron DeSantis, a Republican, signed legislation that restricted how racism and other aspects of history can be taught in schools and workplaces. The law sponsors called it the Stop Woke Act, and they put woke in all caps. Among other things, it prohibits instruction that could make students feel responsibility for or guilt about the past actions of other members of their race. They told you right there what I said a couple minutes ago. This whole thing is to protect white kids and to not make them, quote unquote, feel guilty about what their ancestors did. That's really, I told you, that's what the Stop Woke Act is for. It's not for black people. Like I said, the only part that affects black people is that they're tainting the history, our history, but they're doing it to, quote unquote, protect the white students. That's really what it is. But my thing is this: what makes you think this Stop Woke Act is going to stop people from learning the history? But they figure black people most likely, well, those who are willing to learn are going to go and learn their history regardless. But they know that those other kids who are not black are not going to go and do it, because why would they? It's not their history to learn. Unless they want to voluntarily go learn it. See, if they're in school, they have no other choice but to learn it. But what they're scared of is if it gets taught in those schools, then if they want to learn more, they're going to go outside of school and learn even more, or maybe hook up with, say, maybe a black friend that's willing to want to give them some more information that's in the know and learn it from them. Then they don't want them asking their parents questions like, what is this about? Like, why didn't we learn about this? Why didn't you tell me about this? Again, this is what it's all about. This, and I think I did a video about this last year, about what the Stop Woke Act really is about. It's really about shielding and protecting the feelings and the virtue of PC children or non-black children. I have to throw in that because we all know that Florida has a lot of Cubans that live down there. On Thursday, the College Board said that the AP African American Studies course was still undergoing a multi-year pilot phase. The course is multidisciplinary and addresses not just history, but civil rights, politics, literature, the arts, even geography. See, the part that Ron DeSantis keeps focusing on is the civil rights part. That's the part right there. Maybe the politics part as well. But that civil rights part is the one that really gets him. And we all know why. The process of piloting and revising course framework is a standard part of the new AP course, and frameworks often change significantly as a result. The College Board said in a statement, "We will publicly release the updated course framework when it is completed and well before this class is widely available in American high schools." Mr. DeSantis, who is widely considered a top contender for the Republican presidential nomination, and God help us if he actually makes the ticket. Because I keep telling y'all think Joe Biden was bad. Y'all think Donald Trump was bad. He's worse than both of those two combined. Like, just look at how he's running his state. Listen to what I'm telling you right now. Imagine doing what he's doing right now on a federal level. I need people to ingrain that in the back of their minds. Granted, we're going to have our criticisms of Biden because he's who's in now. We're going to have our criticisms about Trump because he was already in. Hell, we've had our criticisms of Obama. But this one right here, let him get in the office. It's a wrap. I hope that he doesn't get on the ticket. Because if he gets as far as getting on the ticket, then it's like, oh God, now we really got to worry. I keep telling people, I'm warning y'all right now, if this guy even gets the nomination, if he gets that far, we in trouble. Like I said, we got our issues with the current administration. We had our issues with the previous one and the one before it. But this one right here, if this one becomes an administration, if Ron DeSantis becomes president in 2024, so to speak, well, I don't think that's going to happen because he would probably have to now. He would have already had to start the campaign running right about now. But anything can happen. It's scary. Just keep that in your minds. Do not think for a second that this guy would not take what he's doing right now on a state level, especially with this, and make it a federal thing. I'm just giving y'all a heads up. This isn't to scare anybody, but it's just more of a forewarning. We can only hope that it doesn't get to that point. He says has repeatedly taken on polarizing culture war issues, including teaching about race and gender. Those stances are popular among many parents and helped him win re-election last year by a wide margin. He pledged when he was sworn into a second term this month that he will continue seeking to make Florida the quote-unquote land of liberty and the land of sanity. So I'm guessing learning about black history is insane. That's insanity. Last year, a federal judge blocked part of the Stop Woke Act, officially named the Individual Freedoms Act, that would have regulated workplace trainings on issues such as race and diversity. But the law still applies to public schools. So does another 2022 law, the Parental Rights in Education Act, which critics call the Don't Say Gay Act, that, among other things, bans instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity in kindergarten through third grade. Some Florida teachers have said they feel as if they are looking over their shoulder, worrying about what and how they can teach. Even before Mr. DeSantis signed the contentious laws last year restricting what can be taught, his administration rejected dozens of math textbooks for use in public school classrooms, claiming their incorporation of social emotional learning and critical race theory, even though we keep saying that critical race theory is not taught on a public school level, but that's where it is right there for him, because like they said, AP courses are given to students so they can get credit when they go to college. You know, the credits can transfer and that can help them out, maybe even graduate a little bit early. And the fact that we know and he knows that critical race theory is taught on a collegiate level, they probably feel that CRT is going to be slipped into that AP course, and he feels like, nope, I got to stop it dead in its tracks before it gets here. Again, when they say woke, we know who, what group, what demographic, what ethnicity they are talking to. The rejection of the new AP African American Studies course was first reported by the National Review. The course has been tried in 60 high schools across the country, including at least one in Florida. At all schools, students taking part in the course will not receive an AP exam score or college credit. Florida already prohibits schools from teaching CRT, an academic framework for understanding racism in the United States that was not taught in high schools, but became a political rallying cry among parents and political activists on the right. And see, the thing is, Ron DeSantis knows that CRT is not taught on a public school level, but his stands are so stupid that they don't even realize that it is not taught in schools either. Otherwise, I'm sure their kids would have came home and told them about that. Like when they asked them, how was your day at school? What did you learn? What did you do? But Ron DeSantis, I believe, knows that CRT is not taught in schools, but he knows that a lot of these people will eat up anything. So he has to run on that in order to continue getting votes and support and money, of course. So he continues, he does that. He'll never actually come out of his mouth and say CRT is not taught on a public school level. It's in colleges. Y'all have nothing to worry about. The state also does not allow educators to teach the 1619 Project, a classroom program that was developed by the New York Times and sought to reframe the country's history by putting the consequences of slavery and the contributions of Black Americans at the center of the national narrative. Henry Louis Gates Jr., a former chair of the Harvard Department of African and African American Studies and director of the Hutchins Center for African and African American Research, who was a consultant to the College Board as it developed the AP course, said last year that he hoped the curriculum would not shy away from such debatable topics, not as a framework, but as a way of studying different theories of the African American experience. And see, that last part that he said right there, he said something about debate. See, they just want people like Ron DeSantis just want to skate on by and not have this kind of conversation. You can tell he's the type of person that you cannot have a debate with. And to prove just that, all you got to do is look at the debate that he had with his opponent last year when he was running to get the governorship back. When he brought up CRT, that's when the crowd started to boo him, because a lot of the people aren't feeling him when he brings up the CRT thing because they know it's bullshit. And so does he. But like I said before, he needs to continue to bring up CRT in order to continue having the support, because he knows that's a running point or selling point that continues to get him reelected, that continues to have a base surrounded around him, that continues to have people who will support him. That's how a lot of politicians work. They sell a dream. They sell hope. They sell lies. And that's what keeps people running back. People think that it's only Black people that fall for this shit. Look at the people that voted for him. They're not, most of them, for the most part, if any, aren't black, especially if they living in Florida. I bet you if you look at the ex polls, most of the people that voted for him are white, of course, and Cuban. And what did he do? Like most politicians, sell hope, sell dreams, and most of all, sell lies. And if you can do all three of those things simultaneously and successfully, you will win every single time. That is exactly why I said he cannot become president. He can't. There is no way in hell that Ron DeSantis can ever become president. He had, like, his views on a lot of stuff. Like, look at what I just read to you. That's just in one state. Imagine him doing that blanketly on every state, all 50 states. Hell, we'll take it a step further and add in the territories, Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, because he might get those too. So there you have it. And to my people, my subscribers who live down in Florida, I always ask you this every single time when it comes to Ron DeSantis, and it's usually the same response. So I know there's some consistency there. What is your take on this? To my subscribers down in Florida, all of y'all, I know all of y'all going to have your take on it, but especially my people who live down in Florida, what is your take on it? Do you have any kids that are currently in high school? Because it says it's affecting high school kids, but I believe in domino effects is going to probably trickle down to the younger kids as well, like in elementary and middle school as well. I wouldn't be surprised by it at all. But what is your take on that? No, and like I said, notice whose history they're attacking. They're not going after anybody else's history. They're not saying you can't teach Asian American history. You can't teach American history, which is white history. You can't teach Hispanic, or as I like to call them, south of the Borderian history. You just can't teach black history, specifically AP African American studies. They are being very specific about what they want to teach, but more so what they do not want taught. And they wrapped it into it breaking the law. Teaching black history, at least on an advanced placement level, and probably on all levels, has now been illegal by a Florida state law. Let me say that again. Teaching advanced placement black history, or African American studies, however you want to put it, has now been deemed illegal to be taught in Florida schools. And you could thank the person on your screen. All I'm going to say is this to my subscribers who live in Florida, and even those who don't live in Florida. If you have kids that are in school, specifically when they get to an age when they can really retain a lot of information, these schools really ain't teaching your kids about your history like that. They'll get the Black History Month and they'll teach them about the same old for the next 28 days, 29 in the leap year. God knows what they'll be doing in Black History Month in the state of Florida with Ron DeSantis being the governor. But it is up to the parents to put the proper information in front of their kids. You think that they would show my videos that I'm doing right now, the series of videos I'm doing on the Black Massacre series? You think they would show that in those schools? That would fall right under his Stop Woke Act, showing kids how a lot of these other groups some came over here, some were already here, and ran black people out of towns when they were being successful. That's considered being woke. That would be illegal to teach in these schools. That's deemed illegal thanks to Ron DeSantis. Our history in America, due to who, is deemed tainted, is deemed negative and bad and illegal in the state of Florida, thanks to this piece of shit you see on your screen. If that does not alarm you, I don't know what will. Imagine, like I said, imagine if there were other little Ron DeSantis mindsets just planted all over the nation. He wouldn't even need to run for president. The rest of them doing it for him. And I always believe in domino effects. I would not be surprised if some other states started to try to pull this. But honestly, I don't know if some of them will go that far, because if they wanted to, they already would have done it. But all I'm gonna say is this, and I'm gonna end the video. And I know I sound like a broken record. Please do not have it where this man could run for president or get that far to the point where he could almost win. Because, like I said, it starts in one state, he become president, it's now in every state. And then who knows? It can go further than just not teaching your kids about their history in these schools. Who knows where and how much further it can go from there. It might get real ugly after that. I mean, it's ugly now, but it might get downright hideous if he becomes elected president. This actually just came my way when it came to the whole situation with this AP African American Studies course. And I'm not going to sit up here and say that I agree with Ron DeSnowflake or Ron DeSatan, because I definitely don't, on the basis of he probably didn't even know what I'm about to talk about right here was even in the AP Studies course. He probably just saw AP African American Studies course and said nope to it because it said African American. But I want y'all to look at this right here. This is concerns found within the College Board submitted AP African American Studies course. These are the topics on the sides, and this is the concern. So on this side, it says topic 415, intersectionality and activism. The one below it says topic 419, Black Queer Studies. The topic 429, movements for Black lives. Topic 416, Black feminist literary thought. Topic 430, the reparations movement. Now that one I can get behind depending on what's in it, but these other ones make it look a little tainted. The next one is, or the last one is topic 431, Black study in the Black struggle in the 21st century. When I look at that, I do have some concerns. And like I said, this one looks promising, but when it is surrounded by all these other ones, I'm concerned about that too. So I can see why people would have an issue with that if this is what they're going to be really focusing on the most. But let's be real here. If they can slip the academy's history into these schools, if they can have drag time, story time, and have people masquerading as something that they're not and reading to kids, while some of them are not wearing any undergarments, then yeah. But this doesn't make it any better, because this is so much more to our history than what this is. This looks like it was put together by some feminist. Whenever I see that intersectionality right there, or this Black queer studies, that just screams to me someone in the academy or someone who's a feminist, or worst case scenario, both wrapped into one package.